Hey everyone, RogueGold here, welcome back to the Division 2, and today I wanted to discuss what is a bit of a smaller feature and quality of life change that got added to the game in this newest season. However, it got put in completely unannounced. It was not included in any kind of patch notes, and although it may seem rather trivial or inconsequential at first, it actually grants a lot of player agency, and I think it's going to prove very beneficial when systems like stretch goals return. And so because of all that, I also wanted to use this video as an opportunity to give out a PSA for how this feature can help you improve your grind efficiency later on in the season, if you so choose to. This will all make a bit more sense once we dive in, so let's get to it. If you enjoy and you want to catch more of my Division 2 coverage moving forward, then be sure to subscribe if you've not already. Shout out and thank you to our channel members for your ongoing support. You keep the lights on and keep the videos coming, so thank you so much. But without further ado, let's get to it. Alright, so this all has to do with our weekly seasonal scouts. If you have engaged with them so far this season, you may notice that there's a new layer that has been added to them. Now, a lot of people looked over this back in week 1 because we were actually opted into Scout 1 by default, but now that we've hit week 2 of the new season, many players are noticing that there is a new activation prompt on the Scout screen, and what it means is that the Scout clues that you use to go and complete the Scout activities, they won't show up on screen until you manually activate your Scout. And so inherently this means that you also cannot progress your Scout until you do this. So I actually went and tested this just to be sure. Spoilers, I'm going to put Scout 2 solutions on screen, so if you don't want to know what those are, then look away. But as you can see for Scout 2 here, the first objective is to just go and do 2 resource convoy activities out in the open world. So what I went and did just to check is that I deactivated my Scout in game. I went and completed a resource convoy. Then when I did that, I went back to reactivate and check the clue, and indeed I had no progress towards that objective. So as I mentioned before, on the surface this may seem rather insignificant. Some might even say, oh great, I've got to go and press an extra button now just to do my Scout. But in actuality, what this is doing is giving you the freedom and choice to decide when you want to progress your Scouts. And as I mentioned before, that is very relevant in the context of stretch goals and the introduction of high value targets. High value targets, or HVTs, were a thing first introduced last season. They're denoted by the little square icon on the Scout chart here. So a circle is just a regular Scout, whereas a square is an HVT. This season we have 3 of them coming up on weeks 4, 7, and 10. As far as the purpose they serve, they're the only Scout activities that you actually need to complete in order to have access to and play the climax mission at the end of the season. So, for example, last season, you were only able to play Potomac Event Center and gain access to Mastered Difficulty and get the Tinkerer. You could only do all that if you had completed your HVTs. Of course, if you want to wait until the next season to access that content, you can, when it unlocks for everybody, but most people don't want to. They want to get it when it's out, and so this season, that same flow is going to be in place. Complete your HVTs to gain access to the Climax mission, and we'll have the Tempest as the reward. Of course, things got a bit muddy this time around by the bug that happened there, but the devs are working on that behind the scenes. They say there's going to be a new reward there too. Here's why this all matters. HVTs are now the only mandatory Scouts to do in the season flow. Again, if you want to access the finale when it unlocks, and this is relevant because of stretch goals. You'll recall that these are the post 100 season pass rewards that you can chase. They were very infamous recently due to the Lexington and Turmoil scandal. Despite all that controversy going down lately, this is a system that the devs plan to bring back pretty much every season from here on out, is what they've said. Even with the recent issues with it, they committed to improving the feature for the quote next iteration, which we can only assume is this season. Now, whatever improvements they might choose to make to it, the core of the system is unlikely to change, and that is chasing further progression with season XP. And Scouts are actually one of the biggest bundles of that XP type. You get 2,000 per completed Scout that can scale up to 2,400 if you have both of your multipliers. And so here is where this all comes together. Before this activation, deactivation, quality of life change, you could accidentally make Scout progress even when you're not trying to. You know, whether one of the Scouts was complete a territory control. You do that, you progress it. Sometimes it would ask you to resupply control points. Maybe you're trying to do that to get the buff, but you end up progressing your Scout too. Even this season, with retaliations and all the open world stuff, just doing control points likely would have progressed you in those areas. But now with this feature, you have the option to say, I don't want to make progress here. here. And so what that means is that if you want to save your non-HVT scouts to do them once stretch goals arrive, you can do so without having to, consciously go and skirt around completing certain activities. So again, I know at the start this all may have seemed pretty trivial, but this is quite the nice initiative by the devs to provide players with more agency. And that's what I want to hit home at the end here on the more PSA side of things. Each new scout awards us a lore comm, right? But unless you're a lore junkie who wants to see those things as they come out, or you're a creator like myself who wants to collect them and just see if they're worth discussing, unless you're in those two categories, I don't see too much advantage to completing your non-HVT scouts before stretch goals arrive. Because let's just say for argument's sake that you're getting the maximum 20% season XP gain multiplier. If you were to go and save all 7 non-HVT scouts until stretch goals arrive, and then you were to do them once that feature is live, that would automatically award you with nearly 17 levels within stretch goals. And that could go a long way. Of course, you'll actually need to still go and do the scouts at that time, but you can drop your world difficulty down to normal if you choose, knock them out very quickly, and so yeah, it can make a real difference when it comes down to it. Well, my friends, that is just about everything I had for this video. Just wanted to come on here and have a very brief chat discussing this new quality of life feature that has been introduced, highlighting its significance among the wider conversation of stretch goals and all this other stuff. Hopefully, if nothing else, this helps inform your farming decisions moving forward. As I said earlier on, this is all about greater player choice, and this gives it to us. So, at this point, I would love to know any and all of your guys' thoughts about this new scout activation feature. Do you see some of the value that I do here in this video? Maybe you just think it's cumbersome and more in the way. Let me know what you think about it down below. That is just about everything I've got for this one, though. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll catch you back soon. Until then, RogueGold out.